The world into which the protagonist has moved is like a plane of self-cultivation, protected by enchantments created by 10 great artifacts. And his name is the world of 10 artifacts. Every newborn in this world has an innate treasure associated with his soul. Whether he wants it or not, this thing will accompany him for the rest of his life. Although it sounds very unusual, the gap between the functionality, strength, and potential of various innate treasures is so huge that it is almost impossible to fill it with your own efforts. In general, the quality of an innate treasure directly determines the fate of the bearer, at least usually it is. There was a huge queue at the man's house. He helped families identify an artifact owned by their newborn child. A man told one of the families that their child's innate treasure is a brick. The master pointed at it, but in fact it was a touch-sensitive mobile phone. Just people of that time did not know about it. The father of the child began to say that it could not be an ordinary brick, because fine work was done on it. It had a smooth texture reflecting the surface in which you could see the shadow. In response to this, the master replied that honestly, from the point of view of hardness and quality, even a brick is not made of it, and he calls it that, simply because he does not want to upset the husband and wife too much. The master told them to accept the reality that their son does not have any talent and is completely useless. 15 years have passed since that day. A young guy was standing at the Yunding sect's headquarters. He realized that there was a lot of spiritual energy in this place and he didn't even know if they could help him. At that moment, the guy was called by the name of Yang Yan. The guy turned around and saw a beautiful girl with pink hair. She asked Yang Yan if he remembered her. The girl introduced herself by the name of Yinghua and said that she lived with a guy next door when they were children. The guy answered as if he remembered the girl and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. However, in fact, the guy did not remember Yinghua at all and decided just for the sake of decency to pretend that he knew her. The girl said that she did not expect to see the guy here and asked him if he came here to take part in the 9-rank Kingland conference, like the girl herself. The guy was embarrassed and replied that he kind of came for this, although he wasn't really sure. The girl took Yan by the hand and said that this was great news and she thought it would be just wonderful if they got into the same sect. After that, the girl said that she most wanted to join the Yunding sect and asked Yan about where he wanted to join. The guy looked at Yinghua and thought that although he was not interested in real girls, he had to admit that this girl in the world of immortality was simply excellent. The so-called 9-rank Kingland Conference is a national talent show co-organized by the 10 Dao Artifacts sect, which is at the peak of this cultivation stage. Anyone between the ages of 15 and 18 can go on stage and present their innate treasure to the public. A man came on stage, whose body was very pumped up. He said that his innate treasure is the rainbow flower robe, which is not only invulnerable to attacks, but also enhances his true Yang Kai. At this moment, a strange garment made of translucent fabric appeared on the guy, more like a woman's negligee. The man added that, on top of everything else, these things fascinate enemies, so that they cannot attack a man. The judges from the 10 Dao Artifacts sect conduct a comprehensive assessment based on the strength, functionality, practicality, malleability, and other qualities of the innate treasure. The judges announced to the contestant number 58 named Tan Wai, whose innate treasure was rainbow flower clothes, that his initial rating was medium-low and they asked him to go to the waiting area. Those participants who get excellent grades may even be invited to the sect of the 10 Dao Artifacts, so there are always a lot of young people going there. The next contestant at number 59 was Yinghua. The girl was shaking all over while going on stage, as she was very nervous. Yan told the girl that everything was fine and reassured her that he would cheer for her from the stands. The girl came on stage, greeted the jury members and said that her innate treasure is the Sakura dance. A peculiar staff appeared in the hands of the girl. Yan thought that he did not expect this beauty to be so strong at all. One of the jury members said that Yinghua was great and he wanted her to come to him. In response to this, another girl from the jury indignantly asked the guy that he wanted to take Yinghua from her, calling the guy his brother. At that moment, a man appeared on the scene and told Yinghua that she could join his giant Zen gate. The girl looked at the man and thought that he was very handsome and she had always wanted to join the giant Zen gate and therefore she agreed to his proposal. The host said that this is a very unexpected turn, because this is a representative of the Giant Zen Gate sect and the nephew of the head of the 10 Dao Artifacts sect. He managed to steal a participant from under everyone's nose, using such an unusual method. Yan, who was watching this, could not understand why the girl was doing this, because she herself said that she wanted to join the Yunding sect most of all and thought that Yinghua was a very fickle woman. At this time, the next contestant at number 60, Yang Yan, was invited to the stage in order to show off his innate treasure. The guy was holding a phone in his hands and said that it was his innate treasure and he called it Saoji. People from the crowd began to laugh and say that this is not a treasure, but an ordinary black brick and this is garbage. After that, The guy began to actively and nervously poke at the phone screen while saying that he would now show how to use it. The guy said that whether he succeeds or fails will be determined by the movement of his fingers. Throughout his childhood, the guy was told that his innate treasure was the most useless because of this mobile phone. Everyone bullied the guy since childhood. He had to cope with very strong pressure. Although the guy understands that this is not some kind of brick and knows how to use it, however, a fan of mobile games cannot fight. No matter how good the terminal is or how exciting the game is, it's all pointless if there is no internet access. But now, with the spiritual support of the 10 Tao Artifacts sect, the guy will defy the will of heaven and change his fate in one fell swoop. The guy decided that no matter what happened, he could not disgrace them, the transmigrants. After that, the phone connected to the internet and a powerful spiritual force spread from the guy in all directions. The audience felt terrible spiritual fluctuations and was afraid of what this guy was going to do. After that, Yan pulled out a card. The light was bright and the guy decided that it was SS rank. However, after looking at what he got, he realized that they were all R and N rank. The audience couldn't understand what the hell was going on and assumed that the guy had caused all these weirdos with a brick. The girl who was watching all this recalled that the guy was always reluctant to talk about his abilities and she thought there was something incredible, but she was very disappointed to see it. The guy at that moment was swearing at a stupid mobile game because he pulled out the top 10 cards and they were all R rank. After that, he didn't want to continue playing. A girl from the jury asked the guy if this black brick was his innate treasure, which is able to summon strange living creatures. Another member of the jury said that this green something looks quite unusual, even if this creature is the ugliest among the demons. The guy began to say that this is some kind of technical error and usually this does not happen. He started telling the goblin not to run around and come back to him. At that moment, the goblin started attacking the girl. However, the man who had previously invited her to the sect protected the girl from this monster. The sword with which the man pierced the goblin flew at the guy and he tried to defend himself from him with a phone. The sword collided with the phone screen and an energy explosion occurred. The men were surprised that Yan was able to repel his hard sword. After that, a beautiful girl appeared holding a weapon in her hands. It was a character of SSR rank Valkyrie 1, the main executioner of Niflheim. Her code name was Grim Reaper in Winter, Hela. Yinghua hid as behind the man's shoulder could not understand what had happened. The man replied that it was some kind of powerful spiritual force. He asked the guy about who he was and whether he was a member of the Kinglan Association. He also asked about why the guy was protecting this demon. In response to this, he said that it was difficult to explain and they were unlikely to understand. He said all he needed to know was that the girl was obeying his orders and he had used his phone to summon her. The guy thought that this girl is different from other useless creatures. She belongs to the strongest category. The guy thought that it was not in vain that he burned incense, fasted, but washed and changed clothes before coming here. He was sure that it should definitely be evaluated as a product of the highest quality. The man said that apparently it was not his fault, and in fact Yan used a pleasant technique for manipulating the soul. The man continued and said that he thought the guy only used low-level monsters and dolls, but it never occurred to him that he would decide to use this woman. Yan was shocked by such accusations and said that these were hasty conclusions. But the men did not listen to him and said that today he would kill Yan in the name of justice and humanity. The man had already raised his sword over the guy and was ready to kill him, when suddenly a girl appeared between them and protected the guy from the blow. The man noticed that the girl's expression did not change and he assumed that her soul had been completely erased and only a shell remained. The girl reflected so at the man and threw him away from the guy. The man decided to apply the technique of the Sword of the Heart in the destruction of the wave. The girl moved away from the guy, and the man decided to use this to kill him. However, the girl was faster. She stopped the man with her robot, which turns out to have been created a long time ago to protect the guy. The guy didn't know about it himself and was surprised. One of the jury members was outraged that the man managed to bow. Another member of the jury said that he did not think that Yunfeng would not be able to gain at least some advantages against Valkyrie. After all, he became the only participant who received the highest marks at the last Kinglan conference. He was the strongest and steadfast contestant of the younger generation. After that, Yunfeng summoned all his younger brothers and ordered them to form a ball formation and destroy this demon, meaning the robot that protected the guy. They used a sword formation called Demon Execution. Yan asked the men about why they kept attacking him and suggested that Yunfeng couldn't play fair. The guy told the girl to put up a blog from Swords. Valkyrie said that the Annihilation Core is fully charged and she is requesting temporary permission for non-standard combat modules. In response to this, the guy asked the girl to speak in human language, but if he understood correctly, the girl meant that based on his many years of experience in mobile gaming, the confirmation button should be where it is brightest. Permission from Yan was received. The man began to attack with the second heart sword formation, a rain of 10,000 swords. A huge number of swords began to fall on Yan and Valkyrie. However, the girl created a block. She told the guy that a strong energy shock was predicted and asked him to hold on tight. The guy was very surprised by this. He had a feeling that this scene was already familiar to him and he had seen it somewhere. It's just that last time, the guy seemed to be in a different place. The guy was sitting on his bed in the room playing a game on his phone. He won and was very happy. The guy shouted that he knew that with his team and constant practice, no one could beat him, and when he had the resources, he called for new heroes, and he didn't need the plot at all. If it wasn't for the reward for the first victory, no one would even follow the main story. The guy was very glad that he had a Valkyrie. He was so glad that he forgot that he was on the second floor of a 2-story bed and fell from it to the floor. The opportunity to draw a card and get a Valkyrie was a great thing for Slovenia in this world. But if this card cost a person his life, so be it. The guys were not only ridiculed on social networks, but also those who could not get a card laughed at one because they ran out, and it was very sad. After that, the guy was reborn. It's been more than a decade since the day he moved into this world. Suddenly, the guy woke up from the fact that there was a goblin above him. He threw it off and only now was able to look around. The guy was in some kind of cave and could not understand what he was doing in this place and where he was at all. Memory began to slowly return to the guy. The guy really liked the strength of the girl, the SSR rank character, and he was pleased with this outcome of events. The guy thought that so far this is only the first call, and if he gathers a team of SSR heroes, he may be able to reach the top in one fell swoop. Suddenly, the computer said that there was less than 30% of the energy left and asked if the guy wanted to activate the reserve. The guy in a panic could not understand why such a large energy consumption. The guy looked at his phone and saw that the Valkyrie's powers were getting smaller. He asked her about what she was doing and told her to come to her senses, because they need to get out of this place. Everyone from the righteous path was looking at the guy and the girl, so even if they could defeat the man, it would be useless and running away was their best option. Valkyrie said that the order to retreat has been confirmed. They grabbed the flying machine and flew away from the battlefield. The guy sitting in the cave remembered everything and said that although it was not a reason for pride, he managed to escape. The guy saw the goblin in front of him again and called him an asshole. After looking around a little more, he realized that everyone he had summoned was in place. The guy started shouting at everyone that they were sitting here so clean and tidy, like one big family. He swore that if not for their promiscuity, but Yan would not have been attacked and would not have been considered a cultist and a heretic, and he would not have ended up in this cave. The guy thought that if only he could hide them in the warehouse. At that moment, all the monsters moved back to the phone. The guy realized that all this time he could just return them back to the phone whenever he wanted, and it's very convenient. After that, the guy found out that it turns out that the blue stripe continues to be absorbed after materialization, and the condition of the summoned character is gradually restored after returning to the phone. For summoning characters of different levels, the waiting and charging times are different. The higher the level, the greater the consumption. Also, leveling and character development, as well as unlocking skills, also require appropriate resources. The standard system for mobile games. Suddenly, the guy realized that he couldn't see Valkyrie anywhere. He couldn't understand why he couldn't see his new SSR rank girl anywhere. Suddenly, the guy raised his head and saw that she was sitting on a rock not far from him. At this time, Yunding Yunfeng was reporting on what had happened in the arena. He said that in broad daylight, in front of everyone, those two criminals left the arena in such a proud way. There was a similar incident. The guy wondered why the Yunding sect did not react in any way as an organizer and did nothing. In response, the master of the Yunding sect, Chen Yanjuan, turned to his nephew and told him not to worry, but rather to sit down next to him and they would discuss this incident together over food. In response to this, the guy replied that he needed an explanation and asked his uncle very much to explain to him what was the matter. At this time, a representative of the Xuan group named Qi Jai, who was one of the jury members, said that at the audience the guy was the only one who called them demons. And they all thought that he was wrong, and naturally only the guy was to blame for everything. The second member of the jury said that if he really is a demon, then he can only applaud his courage to come here and demonstrate his witchcraft before the eyes of dozens of masters of the sect of 10 Dao artifacts. This was said by the chairman of the Tail Pagoda, Ning Zion. In response to this, the man said that if he had something to say, then let him speak correctly. He spoke up and said that he was afraid that those who did not know the truth might decide that he, Brother Yunfeng, as a judge, took the initiative and attacked the subjects. After all, he did not have an advantage over him. The man could not restrain himself, and therefore called on all his younger brothers to fight with him side by side, which is tantamount to harassment. Uncle asked everyone to calm down and stop worrying, because there was an incident in his Yunding sect and they will definitely explain themselves to everyone. He also said that they would conduct a proper investigation regarding this fellow Yang Yan. At this time, the representative of the Tian'an Gate, Wu Ning, whispered with another girl and then left the building. Uncle continued talking and said that if there really is a problem, Master Chen will never tolerate it. But if it turns out to be a simple misunderstanding, it means that today they offended an exceptional genius. Yinfeng said that in that case he would be the first to leave the hall. The uncle replied that his nephew should walk slowly and he would not send him away. One of the younger brothers told the guy that it was obvious that the main sex wanted to make fun of them and deprive them of their authority. He asked Yunfeng if they would really leave it just like that. The guy replied that of course not. Now everyone knows that the Jiangxin Gate is on bad terms with this person, and he was not going to negotiate with him, but others can. He also added that it is needless to say that now some individuals are making their own calculations. As for those who are watching from the other side, there must be someone among them who will take this opportunity to take him under his command. He also added that now they should perceive the retreat as an offensive. He said that even if they didn't do anything, someone would definitely bring them to him. At that moment, he saw the same girl who had left the hall earlier jumping on the roof. Yunfeng added that when the time comes, he will strike his blow. At this time, Yan was sitting in the cave and looking at the Valkyrie. He thought that he had a general idea of the situation, and it turns out that the girl came from the colonial planet Ida. He asked the girl if she was in charge of the special forces at Fort Formalin. The girl corrected the guy and said that the name correctly reads like Nilfheim. She added that it was the Nilfheim Fortress, the last fortress under the polar ice. The guy said he understood the girl, but it's not the same thing. He thought that even though he always skips the plot in games, but the name she mentioned made him think. And also her apocalyptic sci-fi form gave the guy the idea that she was from the Fifth Night. The guy remembered that shortly before he got into this world, this game became a real phenomenon in the world of mobile games. For several months, she stayed at the top of various charts. The problem was that the guy has no memories associated with this character, and he assumed that she was a new hero who was presented after the guy moved into this world. However, the guy decided that he would not think about it, because the girl's strength and appearance are beautiful, and this is exactly what an SSR rank character should be. The guy stood up and told the girl that in this case, he would briefly tell the girl about what was happening, but he realized that the girl did not care at all. The guy started talking and said that this is the border planet, the world of 10 artifacts, and Valkyrie was in this place because of him. The guy said he used time and space warp technology to get her here. He also added that from today the girl can consider him her military commander, if that's what it's called. Suddenly, the robot spoke and said that the main protocol was damaged and the biometric information, the synchronization level with the commander is 99%. The girl fell to one knee and turned to Yan with the words that he gave her an order. The guy smiled and said that there was no need for formalities and told the girl to get up. After that, he added and said that he didn't expect things to turn out this way until he was in this place, and he didn't even have a plan on what to do next. He said he thought they should move to a nicer place first. The girl announced that the order had been received. She grabbed the guy by his clothes and was going to fly away with him, like that time, but he shouted at her to wait and not do it again. The guy looked at his phone and couldn't figure out what was going on. He released the goblin from his phone, but he did not fall, but continued to hold on to the guy. The goblin pointed to the cave and said something in his own language. The guy assumed that the goblin wanted the guy to go with him. The three of them went into the cave and went to the very depths, but there was a dead end. The goblin began to knock on the wall, and the guy thought that nothing more could be expected from an ordinary N-rank card. After that, the girl launched a projectile into the wall. There was a hole formed, behind which the guy saw an ore vein with some bright blue crystals. The guy asked the goblin if that was why he brought the guy to this place. Yan was very glad that it turns out the goblin has hidden functions. He stroked the goblin's head. The guy said that even though he doesn't understand much about this world, but based on the quality, you can get a lot of money for this ore. The guy thought that he only had to figure out how to get all these crystals in such large quantities. He decided that he would just choose the best one. Suddenly the guy saw a big eye in front of him. The crystals stirred and the mountain rose. The girl protected the guy from the attack of an unknown creature. It turned out to be a kind of stone dragon. The girl began to attack him with her weapon. She ordered the robot to launch cluster loops. He replied that he did not have enough energy for this. The girl fought the monster with the last of her strength. Valkyrie was already at the end of her strength, when suddenly Yan appeared with a team of his monsters and a machine gun. All of them attacked the stone dragon and helped the girl in the battle. At that moment, the goblin climbed onto the dragon's back and Yan told him not to do anything reckless on his back. He told another man with a machine gun in his hands that he was aiming badly and should shoot him in the eyes. He ordered the master of the sweep not to fight with the monster, but to try to cut it off from others. He ordered the goblin to act according to the plan. In no case should they lose, but only win. After that, Yan said that it was possible to attack. Together, they still managed to defeat the monster. The Valkyrie delivered the last blow to his eye. Yan realized that the girl had reached her limit. He also added that this is just a tutorial for beginners. It would be cruel on his part not to give them time to recover after such a battle. The guy decided that if he didn't get any minerals from the animal, then any other reward wouldn't make sense. The guy got to the crystal and touched it with his hand. The crystal immediately moved to the guy's inventory in the phone. Yan was very happy because it was 1,000 times better than ore. At this time in the port city of Zhujing, the guy was walking around the city and a robot was flying next to him. He said that an abnormal secretion of hormones was detected in the highest authority, and the duration of the status is 28,000 seconds. Yan's status was extremely agitated, and his sanity was very low. The robot said that it is recommended to subject the mental state of the highest authority to a review. Yan told the robot to stop, because everything is fine with him and moreover, he has not felt as good as he is now for a long time. He showed the robot the screen and asked if he could see these numbers and if he understood what they meant. The robot read what was written out loud, but did not understand anything. Then the guy said that it was not an engraved crystal, but a crypto gold. He also added that there is one mysterious force in the multiverse and they, the players, are not cannon fodder and will fight to the end, no compromises. No matter how many bugs there were in the game, no matter how bad the server was, no matter how wrong the strategy was, 1 dozen did not remain in the past. And 2 washed the earth in reverse order. It was an inexhaustible source of dopamine and its name is Hero Summoning Tokens. Yan sighed heavily and said that he was very sorry that this small piece would not be enough for a couple of dozen. Yan thought that the wealth code had been found and the rest time was over. Suddenly, the guy noticed that people passing by him were looking at him very strangely. One woman even closed her daughter's eyes so that she wouldn't look in his direction. At that moment, the guy realized that a Valkyrie was walking next to him, who was wearing very few clothes. He asked the girl if she needed to restore energy before getting off the phone again, where the girl comes out only after a full recovery. The girl replied that at the moment she is in standby mode, so the energy is practically not consumed and assured the guy that he has nothing to worry about. The guy said that he just means that she participated in a very difficult battle, so she should rest, and he will do all the hard work himself. The girl said she didn't want to rest. The guy was surprised by this answer. Valkyrie continued talking and said that the recovery capsule is very dark and very cold. The guy caught himself thinking that it was the first time he saw a girl so sad and confused. He told her that he understood her, but in that case she needed to put on a dress. Yan said that he basically doesn't care what the girl looks like, but for the surrounding conservative aborigines, her appearance is no different from nudity. The girl asked the guy if wearing clothes could somehow affect the situation in battle. At that moment, the robot spoke up and said that Jella's bionic prosthesis was made of a nibbling alloy developed by Helheim. He also added that if Yan wants it to be close to the texture of human skin, he can change its coating. Yan rolled his eyes and said that both the robot and the girl were devoid of common sense and it didn't matter, he just told them to follow him. They came to the Injiao Pavilion, one of the most upscale clothing brands in the world of 10 artifacts. The founder of the pavilion, Lazio, possesses the silver Jio scissors, thereby taking the 12th place in the top of innate treasures. Even the Taoist sect of the 10 artifacts treats her with respect. After that, the guy added that, however, it was only a branch, and here you can buy some mass-produced models. She herself did not sew any of these dresses, but their appearance still retains similarities. The girl analyzed all the dresses that were in front of her and said that the strength and elasticity of the materials used are not great, and they have almost no protective properties. Then the guy said that the girl could choose a dress at random. People in the pavilion whispered about who this guy was and whether the girl had seen what she was wearing, and how dare she appear in this form in the Injiao Pavilion. The girl pointed her finger at the dress she had chosen. She said that the covered area is relatively small and will not affect the fighting. The guy awkwardly agreed and said it was still better than nothing and told the girl to try it on. A few minutes later, the girl came out in a dress. It was a classic oriental dress combined with a futuristic sci-fi style look quite interesting. Yan said that although getting new cards is a priority, but as he expected, the skin should also look good. No matter how poor the owner is, you can't treat your SSR rank heroine badly. At that moment, an employee of the store approached the guy and asked Yan, calling him a dear guest, and asked if he wanted to buy this cape with flowing shoulders, blue skies, floating clouds. Yan replied that he was taking this cape and asked about how much it cost. The people in the store whispered that this is a completely new model from the spring collection and it costs a lot. They all didn't even think that the guy would be able to buy this cape. The girl said that the retail price is 1,388 gold coins, but for the holders of the membership card, the price will be 1,088 coins. The girl also added that they accept payment by checks. The guy heard laughter from the crowd. The guy told the employee that it was a lot of money for a piece of fabric and asked her if it was possible to lower the price or make a discount. In response to this, the girl said that everyone in the world of 10 artifacts knows that the Yinjiao Pavilion has always adhered to the policy of a single price. The guest either buys, or if he thinks that the price does not suit him, then the girl offered to pick up a cheaper version of the model. The guy said that it would be difficult because he didn't have so much money with him and asked if barter was possible. In response, the girl said that at the moment barter is not supported and Yan can withdraw the required amount before buying. The guy reached into his pocket and pretended that his hand slipped, dropped some expensive stones on the floor and apologized, picked them up from the floor. The girl working in the store was very surprised when she saw this. She assumed that it was the Golden King stone, the Silicon Wing and the Jade of the Moon. The guy said that he took only this and asked the girl if she would accept them as payment. The girl said they cost too much and she couldn't take them. She ran away and told the guy to wait until she consulted with the manager. One man from the crowd asked another in shock if he knew how much this stone was worth. In response to this, the second man said that he had heard that the mountains of the Western Sea are rich in minerals, and those living in those parts have a lot of money. He also added that according to rumors, they spend large sums on travel. Thus, the men suggested that Yan could be one of those legendary miners. Valkyrie asked the guy about what kind of mineral crystals they were. In response to this, the guy said that at the time when his monsters were fighting with a giant lizard and were recovering, he was not sitting idly by. Although these stones do not seem to be as valuable as engraved crystals, they represent a great price for mortals. The girl asked the guy if this meant that he knew from the very beginning that they had extremely high economic value. But then why did he pretend that he was poor and had no money? In response to this, the guy said that it was called an immersive experience. The guy thought that he got into another world and was finally able to get an SSR rank character, and there is no point not pretending to be a fool. The guy already began to wait and began to talk about the fact that they are probably all slots there and this is very unenforceable. At that moment, a man appeared in the pavilion. He apologized for making his honored guests wait so long. Yan asked the man if he was the manager and if he would accept this or as payment. The man bowed and said that the dear guest could not worry about this. It was just that their little shop was facing this for the first time and was in such a situation. He also added that many eyes are watching them now and invited Yan to go with him to another room, closed. There was a place to eat. There were several people who were preparing to eat. Yan thought that these delicious smells aroused his appetite. Yan asked the manager about where he was taking them. Is it possible to exchange these stones for money? The man said that he asked Yan to follow him for one reason. The man ran away and said he just didn't want what happened to Yan to affect the reputation of the Yinjiao Pavilion. Yan asked the man about where he was running away. At this time, the girl said that there was an abnormal energetic reaction. A lot of people appeared around the girl and the guy with various weapons, pitchforks, bats, knives. Yan asked them about what was going on and said that there must have been a misunderstanding between them. The girl said she was switching to protection mode. At that moment, a man appeared and said that he had been looking for Yan all night, but I didn't expect him to appear in this place. He said that it made his task much easier and threw something like a teapot towards the guy. The girl immediately deflected the blow. In response to this, the man was surprised and said that her sword was very heavy. Suddenly, some energy was released from the spout of the kettle and headed towards Yan. Valkyrie defended him again while the guy again caught the feeling of déjà vu. A blue ball of energy in the form of a ball was directed at the guy and he, with the words that they were wrong to think that he was a weakling, prepared to repel the attack. However, he did it badly and the guy flew off to the side. The man apologized and said that lately he has only been indulging in wine and tea, so this innate treasure is not familiar to him. The man turned to the girl and said that if he accidentally hurt her brother Yan, but he would not do it intentionally. The robot announced that the highest authority had been attacked in order to immediately get rid of objects that pose a danger. The girl attacked the man with her magic sword, but he deftly dodged the attack. He also said that although it was very unpleasant, but she should be careful with this sword. But first he asked the girl to tell her name. At this time, the crowd standing around watched the whole battle and supported both sides. Yan was sitting on the ground. He watched the battle and noticed that the man against whom the girl was fighting was an acrobat and deftly evaded her techniques. He was also outraged by the fact that he dared to flirt with his SSR rank girlfriend. The guy looked at the crowd of people who were standing around the battlefield and thought that if Jella hadn't told Yan that they had spiritual power, he would have decided that this was just a gathering of restaurant owners. However, the guy wondered if all these people had come for him because it seemed that way to him. He didn't understand why the whole crowd was supporting that man with the teapot. Unless, in fact, the crowd came for Jella. At this time, the man during the fight said that of course such things are beyond his understanding, but this is fortunately. The man used a very strong fire blow, after which the girl flew away for several meters and fell to the ground unconscious. Yan couldn't figure out what the hell it was and assumed it was a kinetic projectile. After that, the man breathed a sigh of relief and said that people had finally come and noticed that they were delayed. This is what he said to the second disciple of the Jiangxin sect, the imprisoned King Kong, Shi Jingkai. Yan immediately understood where that familiar feeling came from. He realized that it was those dogs from the sect again. They were the ones who decided to attack Yan last time and blame him for something he didn't do. They fell on him, their younger comrade, who had barely reached adulthood, and came to do it again. That's what Yan thought. The guy noticed that other sects did not attack him and asked them about why they did it. He suggested that they probably think they are the coolest sect in the world of 10 artifacts and behave like arrogant scoundrels instead of investing this energy in battles with real demons. He also added that they themselves would destroy the reputation of the Jiangxin Gate. The man ordered his subordinates to deal with Yan. Several samurai attacked Yang Yan with swords, but he flew into the air as he was being held by a robot. The guy flying away said that the attackers are in a hurry and this spoils everything. After that, the guy flew away from the battlefield, and Hela got up again and was ready to fight. Several men with powerful attacks attacked the girl, but she was invincible. The man noticed that even after the most powerful attack of his brother, the girl does not retreat, and her courage alone cannot be compared with the courage of even 1,000 men. Nevertheless, the man noticed that it would still be a difficult battle. The exercises that Brother Shi practices are different from the training program of other students of the Jiangxin sect. All spiritual power accumulates in a person's body without leaking out. This force circulates throughout the body along with the blood of the meridians, increasing a person's own strength. However, there is no question of any sword energy, and you cannot fly with this sword. However, if this technique is perfected, the human body will be as strong as black iron, blessed with body-protecting Kai, not vulnerable to swords and spears. With such force, you can open mountains and seas, and no one can stop this person. The head of the sect asked the man if it would be hard for this girl to win. In response, the man said that he did not think so. And if a person specializes in only one technique, he will inevitably lack ingenuity, and sooner or later he will be at a disadvantage. The man asked the head if he noticed that the girl gradually began to understand the principle of his attacks. The head replied that if that was the case, then why wouldn't a man named Mr. Li help him? The man replied that the sect master had given him an order to find Yang Yan. Fortunately, he is alive and well, and now Mr. Lai can safely return to his business, and he also missed yesterday's meeting of the Kingland Club. He added that he would never have thought that he would meet such a beauty here. Yan was thinking that the battle was still in full swing, and he didn't even know if he would get the crystals after all this was over. The guy thought that this was unlikely. Of course, equipment and money usually fall from people in games, which he doesn't really need right now. The robot said that a high-energy reaction was detected. At that moment, a man with a sword appeared and attacked Yan, but he was able to dodge. The man said he admits that these people are even worse than dogs. The battle continued. Several people were directed to stop the girl. Suddenly, the girl saw that the man was attacking Yan and ran to his aid. Yan thought that after so many years, he finally found out that he could become cool, became a target for the villain, and was caught by him. The guy thought that his royal journey was really over before it even started. Suddenly, a phoenix appeared between the guy and the man who was about to pierce him with a sword. He broke the wires Yan was holding onto to the robot and flew over the ground. After the dust began to settle, the three men began to think that after all, Yan could not take advantage of his only chance, and from that moment it would be harder to kill him. Yan woke up and realized that he was lying on something soft. He could not understand what it was. Dark with a red tint, juicy and soft with a slight aroma of wheat. He saw a beautiful girl with purple hair and realized that it was she who had just saved him. Yan realized that he was lying on the chest of this girl, and this made him uncomfortable and embarrassed. Because of this, his nose bled and he was embarrassed. Falling to the ground, he saw Hela above him. The guy began to justify himself to her and said that everything was not as she thought and it might seem to her, and he just fell to the ground and broke his nose until it bled. The girl asked him about his injury. The robot replied that with the exception of the rupture of the nasal capillaries caused by high blood pressure, basically everything is fine. Three men stood behind Jella and addressed the girl with purple hair. They called her by the name of Izia and asked her about why she saved the guy. The girl replied that Yang Yan's treasure could be a rune. Yan asked what does rune mean. The man said that since everyone here values ink like gold, it seems to him that everything can be explained only in this way. Mr. Lai said that as they all know, this world of 10 treasures is based on artifacts that symbolize different laws. The inner strength of each person is represented in the form of his innate treasure. Due to the differences of treasures in strength and nature, the spiritual laws of sects also differ. Therefore, attracting fresh blood to their ranks, even taking into account the innate potential and qualifications, priority will be given to those candidates whose artifacts most correspond to the style of the sect. For example, in the Jiangxin sect, swordsmen like Yunfeng or Brother Shi are mostly listed. Of course, other types of weapons are also acceptable, but then there is a chance of encountering the Xuan'an group in the Yunding sect, in which their humble servant Mr. Lai is located. As for Lady Hezia, the Tanian Gate respects the five-sided jade dragon seal and secretly propagates the spiritual method of full self-determination. This is most suitable for owners of treasures like jade or talismans. The appearance of the object in Yan's hands, which is the treasure of the guy, is very elegant, really fine work. Smooth surface, smooth as a mirror. In terms of usage, perhaps he is able to seal and summon spirits for his own purposes. Similar precedents can be found in the records of the Tianning Gate. Yan thought about the fact that this is a simple LCD screen of a smartphone. Yan took a photo of the girl's breasts on his phone and looked at this photo. He thought that maybe he should choose her. Of course, she just has a bomb chest according to the guy. Suddenly he began to deny and speak. That's not what he meant at all, because this girl came to help him, so he just has to follow her. Suddenly Yunfeng asked about how they would explain the appearance of this Valkyrie woman. She has unusual strength, rich experience, and fighting techniques are clearly different from any known sect. He wondered how such a skilled master could voluntarily serve such an inept boy like Yang Yan. The guy said it had nothing to do with him and why he cared at all. He also added that he and Jella signed a contract 6, he called her, and she helps him. The robot said protocol number 3 includes that she must protect the one with the most authority. Then the man asked Yan about how then it could be proved that she had signed a contract with him and was conscripted voluntarily. Yan said that if you approach the issue this way, then you can argue forever. Mr. Lai said that since there was a misunderstanding, it is necessary to clarify everything. He turned to Brother Yan and told him not to blame Yunfeng, because he is also trying to do the right thing. He is not intentionally trying to create problems for the guy. He also added that, after all, he had witnessed that tragedy at one time. Jan asked about what kind of special tragedy it was and asked to tell about it in more detail. Mr. Lai said he doesn't really know much about what really happened. He only heard that Yunfeng has a dark past. However, Ian thought that this was still no reason to cling to him like that. The girl said that now that it was over, she should pick up Yang Yan and report on her mission. Yan smiled and looked at the men. Mr. Lai said that it could be considered that they had finally got rid of this stone-faced man, and it was not for nothing that humble servant Yang had worked so hard, and now it was finally possible to do really important things. The man turned towards the girl and addressed her by the name of Lady Jella. He said that she has a beauty that can destroy a city and a bearing that is inherent only to a noble warrior, which makes the heart of her humble servant tremble. He also added that he did not know whether her humble servant, that is, Mr. Li himself, could be lucky enough to get close to Mrs. Jella. However, the girl did not answer the man, but only told Yan that the remaining energy is not enough and she urgently needs to be restored, then the guy can call her at any time. After these words, Hella disappeared. At that moment, the girl with purple hair said that the master and the representatives of the factions were waiting for her and Yan at the gates of the Yunding sect. The girl created a huge phoenix and sat on it. She also offered the guy to sit on it, because it would be faster to get there. The girl saw how Yang Yan hesitated and asked him about what was wrong with him and whether he was afraid of heights. In response to this, the guy said that he didn't even know how to answer her and said that he wasn't particularly seasick, only his head might get a little dizzy. However, in fact, all this time the guy was looking at the girl's chest. After a while, in the Yunding sect in the meeting room, the head of the sect and 2 demons who were earlier in the jury members were sitting. The girl said that Yang Yan's body is shaped and looks like a brick. And if it's a brick, then it will bludgeon people. And if it bludgeon people, then it belongs in their Xuan'an grouping. In response to this, the guy said that the words of Qi Tizu's sister were very stupid. He also added that Yang Yan can summon spirits, which was demonstrated at the Kingland conference, so his treasure has a magical space. He also said that Sis knows about her precious ship, so it's obvious that his Lita faction suits Yan the most. After all this, the head stood up and said that it was likely that these two were acting in the interests of their own sects, but you can't talk such nonsense. The head told them to pay attention to the color and shape of Yang Yan's inner treasure. It's clearly a version of a volcanic barbecue stone. In response, the girl asked the old man if he understood what he had just said. She asked if he had ever seen such a small grill. There's not even anything to cook on such a toy. The guy also said that Qi Tizu's sister's words made sense. He said that apparently, his Lita sect really suits Yang Yan the most. After that, they started fighting because the girl disagreed with him. The head of the sect tried to calm them down and say that there is no need to fight here, because if they do it in this place, the meeting room will be destroyed as well as his reputation, and he is also the head. At that moment, a girl with Yan flew on a big bird and turned to the teacher. During the fight, the head said that it was almost noon and why not cook a spicy frying pan and then discuss everything after eating. In response to this, the guy said that this would not work and this issue should be resolved first of all, otherwise no one would want to eat. At that moment, the girls and Yang Yan were in the hall. She bowed to her teacher and said that the order had been executed. Ian was still a little seasick after the flight, but he was gradually recovering. At this time, all three who were in the hall immediately flew up to him. One girl grabbed him by the shoulders and called him a buddy. She was also glad that he had finally arrived. She also added that if Brother Yan joined the Xuan'a group, he would be able to experience the pleasure of a critical stab. At 8 o'clock in the evening, his uncle and the Xuan'a gang will be waiting for him. At that moment, Ian noticed that the girl's hand, which was on his shoulder, was burning with fire and warming. So the guy asked the girl to let him go first. The girl realized that the guy did not like to bludgeon people and concluded that he liked women. She said that if Yang Yan joined Xuan'a's group, then Uncle would be merciful and let Yang do something. But the girl did not have time to finish, as she was pushed away from the guy. The second guy came up to Yan and said that Qetizu's sister was taking too many liberties, and even such an outrage in front of everyone. He was afraid that the reputation of the 10 Dao Artifacts sect was under threat. The guy approached Yang and said that his name was Ning Mayo from the Lida faction. He also added that, unlike any backwoods villages, their Lida sect is well integrated into secular life. Gold, silver, treasures, and female attention, anything. As long as Yan enters their doors, he can get whatever he wants. He also expressed his hopes that Brother Yang is wise enough to understand what he means. The guy wanted to answer something, but at that moment he was knocked down by the head of the sect. He turned to his little friend and told him not to listen to their nonsense, because they were lying and he was missing out on a really lucrative offer. He also added that in this world, only pizza in our stomach can be truly sincere. When it comes to food, it is impossible not to remind people of one phrase, the world's best delicacies in Yending. Uncle was already carrying Ian away with him while the other two were running after him. The guy thought about that it's too rude for such a noble head to steal a person from a younger generation like him. Jan at that moment could not understand what they were doing to him, and was it really their custom to steal people? The guy was thinking about whether that was really why the sister with whom he was flying on the bird told him the moral and prepare before going inside. After that, he wondered if this was the master she was talking about. After all, they must think that the tanning gate suits him best. Yan didn't understand why they weren't trying to get it at all. Suddenly, with great speed, the girl's master grabbed Yan and snatched him out of his uncle's hands. Yan saw the mug in the hands of the master and began to shake his hand, asking about that, where he got it. They were surprised and asked if he really meant a cup of yushi in the hands of the master. At this time, the guy standing behind Jan asked him if he didn't know. He began to say that the Tanning Gate, which is among the 10 Dao sects, has always studied jade and precious stones deeply, in addition to the fact that they found and deposited more than half of the jade of the world. They also discovered many ways of using it based on its properties. However, there is one single species that, for all its magnificent appearance, is absolutely useless and cannot resonate with any mental method. Thus, Yushi got its name, which means stupid stone. The master deliberately uses the cup, which is made of bright but useless Yushi, to remind himself that man's original intentions are stupid and false and to remain humble. Jan thought that he didn't understand anything, but this show-off was definitely just pretending to be an aesthete. Yan was thinking that the 10 Dao artifacts here are the most useless. He saw the cup and thought that it looked like it was carved out of crystals. Yan thought that no one can take advantage of it except him. Maybe that's why no one stole from him, and it's very cool. Yan cleared his throat and said that he couldn't expect Giant Hua from the Tanning Gate to possess such boundless wisdom in his disciple. That is, Yan was highly admired. He also added that his disciple also wanted to follow the example of his master and take some Yushi stones to humble himself, but he does not know at all where to get a similar artifact. The girl said that Yushi is quite rare, but sometimes it can be found in jade deposits of other varieties. But Yushi stones are simply thrown away because they are useless. The girl continued to speak, but Yan interrupted her and said that no more words were needed. He announced that he was voluntarily entering the Tanning Gate. At this time, a man was standing at the Tanning Gate in the northwestern desert. He said to report to the head that the Kingland conference was over. He also added that this time their Channing sect was able to get 13 new disciples, including 5 medium-low, 3 medium, 1 from the pre-high category, and 1 from the high. Before the man could finish, a voice interrupted him and asked him to tell about Yang Yang. The man said that although Yang Yan had a confrontation with Yunfeng from the Jiangxing Gate at the conference, the determination of rank was postponed because he has a special treasure. His mind and manners are also not the same as ordinary people. He himself expressed a desire to join their sect, so the man also included him among the new students. The voice asked about where Yang Yan is now. The man replied that he had ordered Hezia to personally escort him to the sect, and by this time they should have already arrived. At that time, Yang Yan was standing at the Tan New Gate in the town next to the gate with two girls, Hezia and Jella. People in the crowd were whispering. One of them said that he had come to southern Xinjiang to do business and had just received a cute jade wish fulfillment. He also added that he just wanted to earn some money on the sale, but in the end it turned out that it was just a fake made of Yushi. Therefore, he refused to take it and kicked him out. And for this reason he did not get his money back. The man said that his wife would beat him again when he returned home. In response to this, another man told him not to be sad because there is always another way out. The man, perplexed, asked the guy what he meant. He pointed his finger at the girls and told the man to look at them too and asked him if he recognized them. The man said he couldn't watch it because his wife would never let him. In response, the guy asked the man what he was talking about. He also added that if his wife does not allow him to look at the beauties, then at least let him look at the inscription behind them. He asked the men if he could see the idiot sitting in the middle between the girls. He said that they put up this kiosk here today and said that he was going to buy all kinds of garbage for charity. As soon as he showed this guy a third-rate jade, he immediately buys it at double the price. One man approached the guy and said that this was his chamber pot, which he got from his grandfather. In response to this, Yang Yan said that it was not bad and he was buying it. After the guy told the man this story, he did not believe that there could be something so good in the world. The guy said that he didn't believe it either at first, but by this time he had already sold about 10 pieces and it was unknown when else an idiot could appear so rich. Therefore, the guy advised the man to grab luck by the tail and act. When the man approached Yang Yan, the guy asked him why he was so worried and if he had any garbage that he wanted to sell. The man timidly replied that he had one thing that was made of Yushi. The guy who was pushing the man to sell said that it was a jade wish fulfillment and began telling Yang Yan to look at this texture and shine. He also added that if it had been accidentally damaged, the guy might never have seen such a good quality thing. In response to this, Yang Yan said that if it was so sound, wouldn't it be a waste of money if it was damaged? He also added that it can't even be recycled, and men make it a little more difficult for him. In response to this, the guy replied that of course the choice remains with the respected gentleman, but he still believes that the guy will be able to make a wise decision. After that, Yang Yan said that it was his first time in these parts and he was not only trading and doing charity here, but also trying to get to know everyone and see the sincerity of the person. He reluctantly accepted the offer, but the price was a little confusing. After that, Yang Yan Po thanked the guy and the man for the visit and exchanged the craft for a golden stone. After that, a huge crowd of people began to approach the guy with a desire to sell their goods. But in response to this, Yang Yan said that it was time for him to go, but he didn't have to see him again. He said goodbye to everyone else and said not to be disturbed. Bissen would definitely come again. After this guy and the company of girls reached home, Hezia said that if she understood correctly, then the desire to imitate her master's peace of mind and all this charity is a common pretense, and in fact he wants to get the Yushi stone, but is hiding something. The guy replied that of course you can't hide anything from the older sister and awkwardly cleared his throat. He said that he wasn't going to hide anything of his own. The guy continued to justify himself further, but the girl interrupted him and said that in any case she didn't really care. She also added that the guy should just rest this night at the hotel, and tomorrow he will join the sect. Jella turned to her military commander and said that Baishi crystals are important strategic support for them and why don't they activate their power, and announced that crystals will be collected from all over the city. In response to this, the guy said that a rare product can be held. He also added that if everyone finds out, the group of speculators intends to restrain the offer in order to raise the price and earn even more on it. After all, Yang Yan is probably the only person in the world of 10 artifacts who wants to get Yushi, so he is also willing to pay a lot of money for it. Now the guy is an easy prey for scammers. Yang Yan also added that one should always hide one's true intentions. After that, the guy warmed up and said that in any case it doesn't matter now, but what really matters is that we have a bright and cool wind right now, which means that he can just draw 10 cards in a row. The guy carefully took out his face and proceeded to pull out the card. After the guy drew the card for the first time, the Goblin Guardian fell out to him. The guy got a little upset and told him that he shouldn't have gotten out. However, after that, he remembered that the last time he received a hella after such a thing, so this time everything should be fine too. After the guy drew the card a second time, the goblin fell out again. The third time he got a goblin again. The guy was already starting to think that he had corrupted the goblin nest today and asked them to stop appearing. She chased away all the goblins and told him to stand in the corner and stand there because they scared away his whole cottage. Before drawing the card again, the guy said that he refused to accept it and that the game should not slip him another goblin. After that, the guy got a water slug and a Thai ferocious dog. Yang Yan was furious and thought it was some kind of joke, but at least not goblins, which is better. After the guy started pulling out the cards for the last time, The robot said that a sharp increase in pressure was detected in a person with high powers and urgent treatment was required. The guy pulled out the card. He saw the standard blue background, just like it was last time, and already started crying. The guy decided that at that time he pulled an SSR rank character because he is guaranteed to beginners and the system took pity on him. However, the guy decided that he could not just give up, and even if there was only one card left, there was still hope. The guy pulled out the card again. He was already happy to see the first letters of the name and was sure that it would be an S rank character. Suddenly the character disappeared and the guy was already upset. However, the computer said that an unknown object had been detected that was approaching at high speed and asked the guy if he needed to intercept it. At that moment, a fiery comet, which eventually turned out to be a girl, fell next to the guy. She looked at him and said that she had finally found him. She addressed him as Commander. The couple asked the girl if he was right that her name was Lena. Yang Yan was sitting in class at recess and playing a mobile game on his phone. He and a friend were discussing the heroines of the game, and one of them said that he was Hannah, an immortal goddess, and cute, and fights cool. He also added that last night he pulled out as many as 3 SSR rank cards at the initial training and does not yet know what to do with them, sell and buy something delicious or play with them himself, has not yet decided. The other replied that he agreed with him and said that if you add these cards, you can increase the overall level and it will be much easier to fight. Then another guy asked Yang Yan about why he was pumping so slowly and whether he had reached at least the 4th chapter. He also started asking about which build guy put on the characters, which card he put on the main one, and his brother would help him. Yang Yan replied that he was using a C rank Rena. He was told that Rena is not even an SSR rank character. The guy replied that he knew about it, but it could be obtained at the end of the 1st chapter. After that, another guy grabbed his phone and said that it was impossible to get to the 4th chapter only with SR cards. He looked into the guy's phone and realized that it was really possible. The other guy told Yang Yan that he understands everything. Well, ask him about why he shouldn't use Hannah, because there can be nothing better than her double taping. The guy replied that Rena's characteristics are almost as good as the SSR level. Both resistance and attacks are excellent. And she can also attack from a long distance, and the cost of pumping remains low. The other 2 guys laughed and jokingly said that Yang Yan was a smartass. They said that Yang Yan probably condescended to use the SR category precisely because it is easy to use, and not at all because he did not actually pull out any SSR level cards. One of the guys laughed and jokingly asked the guy if he should share his cards with him. Primordial Fantasy was the first mobile game that Yan was dragged into by friends from another company in the 2nd year of high school. At that time, the guy was not interested in anything, and he did not yet need to persistently master the technique of the game. He relied on an African military leader named Rena. She went through a lot of suffering, but still managed to survive the drought. One thing is for sure, at first the guy did not think that something was wrong with Rena, until the guy was blinded by something else. However, it is unclear why, but no matter who the guy pumped, Rena's effectiveness was ridiculous, and while the rest of the characters shouted brother and dear, she kept repeating Captain, Captain, Captain. I just let my ears droop from this. She had no new skins and no new power. And now this girl was standing in front of Yang Yan. She was asking her captain about what he was doing. At that moment, the guy touched the girl on the cheek, but immediately apologized and said that he was just thinking, and his left hand went somewhere by itself. The girl thought that the tips of the captain's fingers were as warm and strong as before and began to hug the guy. Yang Yan was surprised by such assertiveness. The girl said that since the captain disappeared, Rena has not stopped looking for him. She knew that she would definitely see the captain again. The guy realized that by the word disappeared, the girl means the time when the guy left the game. Yang Yan understood what the girl was talking about. She asked her to get off him first. The girl apologized and said that she was too excited. The girl was very happy that she would finally be able to fight side by side with the captain as before. After that, the guy told Hella not to worry because he knows Rena. Then Rena looked around and asked about where they were. Then she saw Mr. Goblin and Mr. Slug and was surprised that they were here too. Yang Yan sighed heavily and asked if he would really have to explain the whole local world order every time he knocks out a new character. The guy asked the robot to help him with this. The robot unearthed a file called the World of 10 Artifacts. Rena asked the guy about what kind of small artificial machine it was. At this time, the machine was telling the girl about the World of Artifacts. The next day, Lady Hezia and her master were standing at the Tanning Gate. People from the crowd shouted that they had been waiting for 2 hours and asked the sister about why the opening ceremony had not started yet. The second man said they were standing under the scorching sun. They were swearing, saying that they couldn't keep them all more than a dozen people here because of some unpunctual simpleton. At this time, Yang Yan appeared. He saw the evil looks from all the guys in the crowd directed at him. The guy awkwardly apologized and said that the Tanning Gate was so huge and he was just lost. The girl told him to stop saying empty words and get back in his place as soon as possible. The guy said it was no problem and went on stage. Suddenly, someone from the crowd stopped him and told the gentleman that this guy's surname is Yang, and the name is Yan after he made that scene at the Kingland ceremony. He should be disqualified and not get a grade. And moreover, in the world of the right way, everyone despises him. Then the man asked about why. In this situation, he suddenly appears on the entrance territory of the Tianan Gate. Hezia said that Yang Yan's situation is special and he was accepted into the sect with the special permission of the sect head. After that, a man from the crowd said that nevertheless, this man made them all wait in this place for 2 hours for no reason. He also added that it sufficiently demonstrates how frivolous he is and shouldn't he first make amends in front of everyone. In response to this, Yang Yan said that he did not get lost on purpose, but now he is in this place. He treats him as a criminal who escaped from prison. The guy thought about what he thought to stick to that idiotic performance plan in order to test the abilities of freshmen. He really didn't expect these guys to be all there is. There is not a single normal one. The guy began to doubt that his sect was in order. Another guy from the crowd said he agreed with Brother Liu. He also added that Yang Yan is frivolous, dissolute, and he does not care about the law, and such people cannot act as an example. Yang Yan replied that he did not pretend to be an example, but it looks like this guy does. He replied that, of course, he claims to be an example, because Lu Zhenjie is the only personal disciple of the Tianan Gate Master this year and shows great hopes. The guy was sure that he was the best and definitely could not do without him. Yang Yan said that apparently, everyone here does not really recognize him. He said that in the world of 10 artifacts, strength has always been valued, so let the one who will be able to kick his ass be the main one. But the guy was afraid that this might disrupt harmony, so it's unlikely that the master will allow it to be done. The master with a calm soul allowed to arrange a fight. A crowd of people attacked the guy, as everyone really wanted to beat him. Yang Yan thought it was a great opportunity to see Rina in action. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, Rina scattered all the enemies. One of the people who were lying on the ground called Yang Yan a despicable villain and said that he could only talk with his tongue, hiding behind a woman's back. He also said that Yang Yan is no one without her help and asked him about how weak he was to go out one-on-one. In response to this, the guy said that the man was saying the wrong things. He also added that he can call people who will help him. This is how his treasure is arranged, or a man can try to order a girl to hit Yang Yan. Rina said that she only listens to the captain and whoever the captain says to beat, she beats. Yang Yan added that since he was born with such supernatural strength, there was no point in him learning anything else, and his opponent's brute strength only helped him hold out for a minute. Yang Yan said that although it is cruel, but people are not born equal. He also added that anyone can be the best, but the factor of how strong your treasure is crucial. Moreover, in the case of Yang Yan, there should be such cheats, incredible adventures, and companions. The guy wanted to continue talking, but stopped because he realized that no one would understand him anyway. Instead of 1,000 words, he told the man to just accept. After that, he heard a voice behind him who praised his speech. It was Uncle Wu Jing. He came down and said that if you fight, you can win, and if you win, fine, but if you lose, then suffer. He leaned over to one of the men who were lying on the ground and told them that they were lying on the ground, and still so stubborn. He asked them if they thought it was stupid. Also, the man looked at Yang Yan and said that this guy looks normal, because of the mouth stinks enough he likes it. The guy couldn't understand what kind of praise it was. However, he added that if Yang Yan runs into someone at his level, then this girl will not be able to protect him, he needs to be able to do it on his own. Yang Yan in fear began to say that education is important. The men said that the elders can distribute the rest as they please, but he takes Yang Yan for himself. Jello was fighting a huge monster dog. After the girl blew off his head, she said that the target had lost the main signs of life and the threat was eliminated. Yang Yan sat and looked at his phone with boredom. He didn't get any experience. Materials for armor didn't fall out either, and the monsters were some kind of hellish. The guy wondered how he even managed to get into such a perilous place that was in a foreign land and was called the Lone Wolf Ridge. 3 days earlier, the guy was standing on the square in front of the stage and asked Hezia about what it was all about and whether it was also part of her plan. The girl replied that the one Yang Yan saw was Uncle Wu Jing and he also belongs to the same generation to which the current sect head and master belongs. She also added that Uncle's character has always been a mystery, and he has never been interested in family affairs. She said she didn't know why he was in such a high mood today. The master said that Brother Wu Jing is naturally so talented that even he will not be able to match him in strength. However, he said that Uncle has a very eccentric and rebellious character, and he also hates to observe any formalities. The master also added that since he joined the sect, he had many exploits on his account and he was even wanted. In a way, he even looked like Yang Yan. The guy listened to all this and said that he was actually kind to the people around him. But this violent uncle teaches him bad things and does not suit him at all. In response to this, the master said that if Wu Jing decided to train him, then he could not be stopped. The head of the sect is currently away, so even the master could not help. In this situation, Yang Yan could only rely on himself. 3 days later, the guy stood in the desert and yelled that the master forced him to come to the Lone Wolf Ridge. But Yang Yan has been waiting for 2 hours at Jinghir and really wants him to finally come. The guy assumed that he was punishing Yang Yan for being late that day and said that it was planned from the beginning. Jan said that his patience had run out, and during this time he would have had time to redo so many things. Because time is money. The robot at this time said that an inadequate mental state of a person with high powers, that is, Yang Yan, was detected, which was accompanied by minor signs of dehydration. The robot summed up that urgent replenishment of water in the body is necessary. At that moment, Yan heard someone greet him, and when he raised his head, he finally saw Wu Jing arrive. Yan was scared and, not recognizing him, began to shout that it was a monster and was going to run away. The uncle said in response that he was glad to see Yang Yan and at the same time was going to strike him. But Jella immediately noticed it and stood between the guy and the man's fist. Wu Jing called Jellu a radish and said that it was not bad, as it became faster than it was before. After that, the man touched Yang Yan's head and shamed the guy. He said that all the girls have already reacted, and Jan is still standing and counting crows. In response to this, Yang Yan said that he did not know how to repel attacks and asked the man that wasn't why he had come to this place, so that Wu Jing would teach him how to do it. He said that there would be no need for Yan to stand here and talk to the master if he already knew how to do everything himself. Wu Jing replied that it was none of his business, and if he had not attacked, the desert scorpion would have done it, and he would absolutely not care what Yang Yan could do and what he could not. Yang Yan began to shout at the master, saying that he had promised to teach him how to defend himself. Wu Jing sat down on the ground next to the guy and asked him why he was in such a hurry. He said that according to the formalities, the guy should first be given a heroic name. The man said that he did not know where the Tannen Gate tract was now, but definitely not at his place and not here, which means he must be somewhere else. The guy didn't even know what to call himself. At first he wanted to call himself Rich, but it was too vulgar and he had to come up with something better. The man realized that since the guy's treasure is able to form people to fight side by side with them, then the guy's heroic name could be Yibing. The guy was indignant and said that no normal person would call his student that and told the man to come up with something else. The man ignored the guy's indignation and said that now his heroic name is Yibin. He showed the guy 3 cards on which the names of the techniques were written. Wu Jing said that there are 3 techniques here that are the best of their kind and asked the guy about which one he would like to learn first. Yang Yan hesitated and did not know what to answer. Then the man spoke and asked the guy if he wanted to try a technique called Perfect Autonomous Jasper Ring first. The man also added that this technique turns the energy channels of the human body into a kind of jade, polishing and perfecting his character like a rock. Wu Jin said that after such practice, the ball will not be able to harm the guy, and the attacks of spiritual energy will be reflected from him by themselves. The man also added that, to be honest, he believes that this practice is really very suitable for Yang Yang. The guy will be able to defend himself, and his girls will always be able to strike. The guy said it sounded pretty tempting. After that, they started training. Wu Jing told the guy that he should transfer the technique to his hands. Follow the diagram of energy channels from the book in order to feel the circulation of spiritual power in his body. The men told the guy to hold his breath and concentrate, start from the center of the abdomen and follow the diagram. The guy should have a feeling of calm dandong. Yang Yan asked his teacher about what dendong is. But at the same second, the robot spoke. He said that according to the results of his search, dandong is a word used by a village of residents of the Far East to describe the process of secretion through the rectum. The guy had already started to say that in fact it means to empty, but the teacher interrupted him with his question. He asked the guy if he already feels the spiritual power of his stomach, and if not yet, then he should strain harder. The guy tensed even more because of this. He began to scream. The teacher watched all this and said that it seemed to him that things were not going very well, because something was wrong with the fluctuations of the spiritual power of the guy. Yang Yan replied that he himself did not know what was wrong. At that moment, the robot spoke up and said that according to the results of its analysis, no significant changes were detected in the quantum state of a person with the highest authority. Then the teacher told the guys not to panic, as it is quite normal that this technique did not work. This is due to the fact that the guy is still too weak physically and not everyone is as powerful as his teacher. After that, the teacher suggested that the guy try another technique called Flames of Jade Smoke. The teacher suggested that the guy could be much more bloodthirsty than it seems. It is more suitable for him to attack rather than defend. The guy again tried to perform the technique with great effort, but nothing worked out for him. The teacher saw this and told the guy to try another technique called Ice Heart Seal. The man also added that girls usually practice this technique. The guy tried to learn the technique again, but he didn't succeed. Wu Jing held his head and couldn't figure out what was wrong with the guy, because he couldn't learn any of the 3 techniques. The men assumed that the guy's spiritual channels were clogged or he was really so useless. Marina said that he doesn't know anything and the expert here is not him, but the teacher. Wu Jing has already begun to grumble about the fact that he decided to take a cripple as an apprentice in his old age. And this is terrible. The man thought that if the guys don't work at all on the spiritual channel, then how does he even awaken his treasure at all? In response to this, the guy said that he just needed to press in a certain place with his index finger. After that, the guy started showing the man how he does it. However, the teacher stopped him, and he suddenly got up, told the guys not to go anywhere and ran away, but promised to come back. After a while, it was already dark and people in robes and masks were walking around the Tianying gate to protect the seal. One of them turned to the captain and said that the target had been detected. That target was Yang Yan. The captain ordered his subordinates to surround the guy, Valkyrie, and the teacher. After all the people surrounded the guy with his escorts, Wu Jing immediately guessed who was in front of him. He called his enemy Baby B and asked him if he really missed him, and so many people came. In response, the